You're gonna be on the couch.
All right.
Right here? Yeah.
All right.
There you go. Mr. Riggle, before we get started, I picked up I have a very special coffee order I get for myself. I picked up 2 in case you want one. I don't know if you drink coffee. I can tell you what's in it.
Tell me what's in it.
Sure.
Because I just had one on the way.
Listen, if everyone on this podcast knows, if you don't want a coffee, you don't have to have one.
I'm good.
No obligations, dude.
But thank you.
And you got a water already, huh? You're all set.
I do.
You've been in this business long enough, huh?
Travel with your own water. It's a tale as old as time. There it is.
That's a thing that we cut to a lot. Sometimes we cut to other people having had done that.
Yeah.
Hair's looking like it's looking. Mr. Riggle, you might not know this based on you just not knowing who I am and walking in, but I'm a big fan.
Oh, thanks.
I'm a big fan.
That's awesome.
And I don't remember whatever teams I've been with over the years, I've asked to reach out to you before.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm so glad it worked out finally.
Your levels are not good, Rob.
Scoot doo. Yeah, come on now.
Blabbity blue. Scoop dee.
Check.
Oh,
Check
yeah.
1 2 check.
1 Alpha, Bravo, Delta. Check.
I know that stuff. Military. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Glassman.
Hotel.
Oh, that's my last name.
Glassman. It should be part of that phonetic alphabet. You okay? You got
Oh yeah, I got this new
that
case.
phone? Case seems so slick.
Yeah.
Why'd you get intentionally get the slick one?
A fan sent it because people call me Slick Rick, so they send me slick stuff all the time.
Got
Stuff
it.
that just kind of falls out of my hands.
Yep. That's the fastest Rubik's Cube I've ever seen.
Yeah. I'm a smart puppy. You don't mind if I drink this. I know because a lot of people that don't drink coffee don't want you to.
No. Who's got the audacity to refuse another individual, another man, coffee?
Bleep the name. Nicholas Stoller, Bill Braxton, Omar Epps.
Well, I find that unacceptable. That doesn't seem right at all. No. Why should your coffee enjoyment, how does that affect them?
Do you watch Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
Every now and then. I've seen an episode or two, yes.
You answer that like I asked a politician how they feel about religion, and you're not religious.
But I'm aware of the religion. I know people practice it.
I respect it.
Yes, I respect it.
There's an episode with Larry and Jerry where Larry doesn't drink coffee anymore, and he was talking about his wife or somebody in his life doesn't like that. He's like, I'm drinking tea.
Yeah.
It's hot. Why do you care?
Yeah.
And Jerry had the point of view of it's not the same. And later on, they talk about that. And later on, they're talking again, and he's talking about somebody's eating pizza and somebody's eating soup. Something where I remember Larry being like, oh, that's weird. And Jerry's like, it's kind of like here. It would be like this. Yeah, it would be like, let's say I'm having coffee or I'm having ice cream and you're having soup. I want to swipe to it because I don't remember it well enough, but they might flag it.
What's the difference?
You want to know the difference?
Yeah, I do.
We go to an ice cream shop. I get a cone. And you get a salad. That's the difference.
That sounds like a Larry bit. That sounds like a Larry rant.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
In the season of giving, give yourself what you need with BetterHelp.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
BetterHelp. Your ad sales. It's already a New York Times bestseller. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about therapy. Visit betterhelp.com/TYSO to get 10% off your first month. Do you know how to spell that? That's
Better.
BetterHelp.com/TYSO for 10% off your first month.
TYSO.
Hey, Southern California. I'm headlining the Brea Improv January 24th, 8 p.m. Want to come out? I don't blame you. Why don't you go to the link in the description right down below and get some tickets. That's January 24th, 8 p.m. at the Brea Improv. I'll be headlining. See you there. All right. We're settled in.
Oh, this is nice.
You're here. Let's not bury the lead, buddy.
Yeah.
You're here promoting Rob's picks.
Riggle's picks.
We got the wrong guy.
But thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
I mean, you're here. We'll do an episode out of it. But what the fuck is Riggle's picks? I've been listening to Rob's picks for weeks. Riggle's is coming back.
Is Rob's picks any good? Because I'd like to listen to it too. It could be anybody though.
There's a bit of relief knowing that you're not Rob's picks because it was bad.
Terrible. Who's it? Gronkowski? Was it Gronkowski?
I don't like to say names.
Okay.
But
don't
let's
have
just say it's Nicholas Stoller, Omar Epps, and whatever the other ones were that I made up. So yeah, you have a podcast.
Yes, Riggle's Picks. I had it for about 3 years prior to COVID, and then COVID hit.
Remember how is everything? Well, real quick on this podcast, when somebody brings up COVID, I think it's best if we could be like, you acknowledge it quickly, like, oh, it was tough. Like, could you do that with me for a second?
Sure.
Will you say before COVID?
Yeah. So I had the podcast for about 3 years running before COVID hit.
Oh, COVID was. How are you?
I'm good.
It's tough, and you know when we left the house.
Yeah, it was.
It was really tough.
It was tough for all of us.
It's good. It's nice seeing people that are out again, though. I do like,
Yeah.
And if you want to wear a mask, and if you don't, like.
Yeah, it's nice to see the streets and the stores and the people out and about enjoying the sunshine. So that's
Good. Sorry to interrupt. Go on.
But so it was. I had it going there, and I was doing it with Sarah Tiana, very funny comedian.
I like Sarah very much.
And we had a blast. But she was having a baby, and COVID hit, and I was getting divorced, and there's all these things just kind of hit at once. So we just said, let's let it go.
Right.
Well, 3 years later, I'm like, you know what? I had fun doing that. Let's bring it back.
And you doing it with Sarah?
No, Sarah's got like 4 or 5 things going. So she seems very.
She might
busy.
actually have 5 or 6 because I saw her at the Comedy Store the other day, and I suggested to her because I'm getting into Boston Legal now.
Okay.
Great show. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah. But that's like from back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, but listen, why does everyone need the new shiny slick things?
Okay.
You know?
Oh yeah. Well, you do clearly.
Fans.
Okay.
But she said she was going to give it a go.
Yeah.
So are you doing it solo?
No, I'm not. Darren Leader, a great drummer and
Shout out to Darren Leader, put his Instagram handle here.
great drummer and a great friend. She's going to sidekick it with me, and then Gary, the producer, our producer, is back, and that's it. I'm doing it out out where I live, so that makes life a lot easier.
Sure.
But and this version will be a little different. We're going to do interviews. The last time we didn't do interviews or anything like that. So this time we're going to be
one guest per episode?
Yeah.
So a little behind the curtains for our fans. This episode was actually recorded a little bit ago. Sometimes we have to do that. We have a lot in the can.
Hollywood talk in the can. For those at home, if I may, it means we've already filmed it and it's in the can. Mm-hmm. And so this is a pre-tape. Yeah. So,
but your podcast is already out now. It came out November 15th. The week of November 15th.
Yes.
But I wanted to put a commercial for your podcast in, also to tease, an upcoming guest the week that your podcast comes out.
Yes.
So we could do it now or we could do it later, but I'm going to ask if we could get like a, what's up, everybody? I'm Rob Riggle, and I got, your version of that.
Sure.
30-second.
I liked that.
Yeah?
I might cherry pick some of that.
Oh, I'd be flattered.
Yeah.
People feel it's offensive to give line readings. I was just directing tone.
No pride in authorship over here.
Okay. Do you want to do it now?
Sure.
Keep in mind, we're going to add some music. We might do some MTV, this type of stuff. We'll edit to match your energy.
Do you have a confetti cannon that'll...
Just at the end.
Not here live. I'm talking CGI.
I know what you're talking, buddy. You're speaking my language.
See, we get into the Hollywood terms on things, and sometimes people...
Here's what you're going to do. At the end of your commercial, you're going to reach behind you, and you're going to pull it out. We'll take care of the rest. You get one take. 15, 14,
okay.
13,
That's a really high
12,
place to start from. Okay.
11,
Yep.
10. I want to show you something I learned in Wayans World.
Yes.
Okay? 6, 5. They don't say 1. 3, 2.
Hey, everybody, I'm Rob Riggle, and Riggle's Picks is coming back November 15th. We launch. It's going to be awesome. Travis Kelce, the tight end from the Kansas City Chiefs. I also think he's dating someone famous. Ooh. Check it out. It's going to be great. That's going to be right out of the gates.
We'll be right back. If you're looking for just the right flooring, you need choices. And at Marshall Carpet One, you'll certainly find them. We're coming back. Everything good?
I love
Are you ready?
I love
Are you
it.
fucking ready?
Love
I'm
it.
going to say Here we come. Welcome back to another episode of Take Your Shoes Off. We were just talking about something outrageous. We can't talk about it now because we don't know when the big news of the big movie comes out.
It's outrageous though. You've nailed it.
Yeah. But no, we're having fun.
Yes.
We're having fun. You ever having a good time and then something happens to you and then you're like, I think I'm depressed, and you're like, no.
No, I don't ever say I think I'm depressed, but I do have. I'll be in the heights of ecstasy or joy, or really enjoying myself, and then I have a to-do list. Then I'll be like, oh shit, I got to go do this, I got to go do that, I got to go do this and that and the other. But I don't have any like doomsday.
Right. But
I will go into. I'll be ripped from joy into
things you have to do.
Christ, I got to do this and I got to do that. And
do you have an example of something?
Well, like right now, I'm having the best time ever, and I'm like, oh Christ, I need to call my agent. I need to call
get him on the phone.
My manager. I need to call my
Angelou,
my daughter. Like I start going down the to-do list, man.
We want to make this a
but here's the thing. But then I snap out of it because I'm really working on being present. That's a big thing that I'm trying to hone in on because we live in such a distracted world. And it's so I'm here, man. I'm all about Rick Glassman. That's where I'm at right now.
What made you need to be present? Did something was happening in your life? You're like, I'm not present enough. I got to work on that.
Just a general awareness. I notice it. I see it in my son.
How old's your son?
15
years.
Yes, and he's. Hey son, how was school? It's good. You know, how are your friends? Good. You gonna do anything after school? No. I can't. It's killing me.
You know that I was a 15-year-old boy a little bit more recently than you.
Yes.
And I know what that means, and that there's a good chance that he's doing drugs and he's doing bad things, and there's nothing wrong with this, but he's gay. It might mean he's gay, and I just want. And I don't.
That's a lot, man. Hold on. We got to unpack this.
We get into this on this podcast, and I don't want to cross any
he was
boundaries.
just looking at the phone,
There's
man.
a good chance, and it's fine, but he's gay and he's doing drugs.
The drugs are not great. Everything else is fine, but the drugs is not great. You got all that from just too much phone time? Because when I look, it's video games. It's usually video games or YouTube.
But what type of games?
What type of games? I don't know.
Interesting. You don't even know what... You're a father, and I'm sure you love your son.
I do.
You don't even know what games he plays?
Well, I mean, they're Red Dead Redemption, Call of Duties, a lot of shooting,
Call of Duties.
a lot of shooting games.
Yeah.
But the ones I see on here are more like arcadey type. They're not blow 'em ups.
Drugs.
I don't think that means drugs. I think it just means he needs to. I need to coach him out of his, addiction.
Addiction. Isn't that interesting that you bring up addiction?
Well, it's just phone.
No, it's not just phone. It's a dopamine hit, man. Have you seen that?
That is a dopamine hit. I do think that's true.
Have you seen that movie with Michael Keaton about that, where they say Beetlejuice 3 times and then he comes out?
It's Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course, I've seen it.
Has your son?
I think it was before his time. Really.
How is he going to learn about this kind of stuff?
Well, I guess I'll have to make him sit down and watch it with me tonight. He really needs to study he's got a geometry test, I think.
That's the last thing I'd be worried about if I were you.
Really?
Heroin.
God dang, I don't even think in those terms. It just felt like he was on the phone too much, that's all.
Something just popped into my head that I've learned as I've gotten older to check in, and then you forget sometimes. I don't know you. I'm talking about your son in a way where I just realized you might be forced to need to improvise with me. And if I did something I just think it's funny to say that to somebody about their son when you don't meet them. But if I did something wrong, I'm so sorry.
No. What's funny though is I too love to just do bits out of the blue because that's the best place to start it. Because if you got somebody who could play with you, then it's always fun, right? So, but forever, cocaine was a punchline. It was always part of a bit. Whenever I say cocaine, like, what are you doing tonight? Oh shit! I'm probably gonna do a little blow. Then I'm gonna,
sure.
go do this. But it's always just a bit.
Of course.
But
now people think you're the coke guy.
Well, no. But now I get older, I realize, people have issues with coke, or people, And I don't even dawn on me because to me, it was so absurd.
Yes.
It was so ridiculous that it was always a punchline. But now people are like, yeah, they either have coke problems or they do coke, and I'm like, it's a bit. I'm sorry, So,
but
fuck everybody in a way too. I'm tired of this bullshit.
That's not a joke I like making. But
fuck everybody, dude.
There are people that, what I believe is you're talking about the everybody that like. Not only do they not need bits, they prefer not to have them a lot of the time, especially when they're meeting people.
I don't get that.
Okay.
I don't get that. Although my daughter, who is a actor.
Oh, I know. No,
she's a wonderful actor, studying. She's in college. She's doing great things. When I used to drive her to high school, I was up early, way early, hours before she was, right? So I'm like cooking.
Well, she's got to be up by 7 for school.
Yeah.
But get ready. So what time do you wake up?
I was up like 5. And I had already had my coffee. I had done my whatever I do in the mornings, journaling, thinking, whatever. And I was, by the time she was, I was like, hey, time to go, let's go. I'm shot out of a cannon. Mm-hmm. And we get in the car, and of course, I'm playing songs from the 80s, and I'm educating her on why Van Halen's better than Van Hagar, except for 5150. And I'm just doing all this stuff, right? And
5150, isn't that when you go to a mental institution?
It is.
I'm ready to die. Right. I put that in writing, which qualified me for California's 5150 law.
Which is?
You can lock somebody up in a psychiatric ward if
without their permission.
Involuntary holds.
Right.
So anyway, boom, 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 boom. I would do bits all morning. And I'll never forget, she requested one day, Dad, can we please have a bit-free zone on the way to school?
Can I tell you something?
And
great communication.
I did love the communication. I love the awareness.
Yeah.
But it hurt because I like to do bits in the morning, and I like to play, and I like to goof with her. And she requested quiet time.
I find when people ask for no bits, what they really want is for you to create tension in silence or some type of an emotional response before then, them having some, and then doing something big.
Mm-hmm. That's a good take on it, and maybe I'll adopt that.
My dad used to, when he wasn't, but because my dad also was up earlier than me, and my dad would take me to school often because I missed the bus a lot. I had stomach issues, get off my ass. And he would shower in the mornings and would often wake me up by coming into my room after a shower and shaking his head to get the water on me and dripping on me.
Like a dog shake.
Yeah. And when you're tired, don't wake me up. But
and wetness with a wake up.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a double whammy.
Yeah.
It's not even just the disturbance of being woke. It's the wet wake up.
Yeah. You're confused. It's.
I worked on my grandfather's farm in the summer, and we were up at the dawn because we had to get out to the fields because you wanted to work in the fields when it was cooler, because in the afternoon it was just blistering hot. Mm-hmm. So he is an old school gentleman, World War II veteran, all this type of stuff. His thing for getting me out of bed, because I slept down in the basement, so he would open the door, light would just flood the basement. He'd come down, and I'd be laying there going, oh, God, I'm so tired. It's early. I'm a teenager. And he would take frozen concentrated orange juice, bunch of, he'd have like 2 or 3 of them, and he'd put them in bed with me. A lot of times up here around the chest, a lot of times, most of the time down by my feet. And that was my cue to get out of bed.
We could remember being annoyed by that, and then you get older, you are the person doing the bit, annoying the people. And you still empathize with it, and you still choose to do it. It just goes to show you, when you know how annoying a bit is, and you know how much you love doing a bit, and you know both, and you still choose to do the bit,
then you know you're in the right business, the business of comedy.
Yeah,
and show.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I was just talking about you before I knew you were coming on the pod with Damon Wayans Jr.
Love him.
We were talking about the other guys.
Yeah.
And it's a top 20 of all time movie to me, comedy movie.
Oh, good.
And I rewatched. I showed it to my girlfriend recently. It's so good. I fell in love with you, by the way. And I think the first thing, I mean, I've seen you in so many things, but like probably 80% of people my age, I'm 25, Step Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
And just would rewind your line reads constantly.
Step Brothers was the most fun I've ever had making a film. By far, of all the films, I had the most fun on that set because everybody came to play. Everybody was in such good spirits. The set energy was awesome, and we improvised constantly. Every scene, because I love the way McKay runs his set. McKay is, so he kind of explained it to me. Basically,
Adam McKay, for people that might not know, co-wrote and directed it. He worked with Ferrell for a very long time.
For a very long time. They were a great collaboration. And now he's gone on to win Academy Awards, and he's done all kinds of amazing things.
I also just rewatched The Big Short. I'm a big Adam McKay fan too.
Yeah, and he was the head writer for SNL, and so anyway, he's just his pedigree is phenomenal, but he's a genius when it comes to improv and just hilarious.
Is he good at drama though?
Yeah, I
Same.
think so. I think so. But he the set was always a blast, and it was just full of improv. But he would say, so the studio pays X amount of dollars, a lot, for the script, and they want that script shot.
Right.
So you have to get the lines as written. So he would do it. We do the scene as written. He'd come in and give notes. Do it faster, be happier, whatever the notes were. Then you do it twice. Do it again with notes.
New notes.
Yep. And then he would say,
Are new notes, by notes, you're just talking about direction
Yeah, direction.
or alternate lines.
no alternate lines, as scripted with notes, meaning his thoughts, direction.
Gotcha. So there's 3 versions of the script.
Well, there's one script,
I'm saying you do 3 takes.
2 takes.
Okay.
So the first take, just as written.
Right.
Your interpretation, go. Boom, I say it. He comes in, great. Do it, but pick up the glass and put it down, or walk out when you say the line, or you get direction from the director.
Yeah.
Boom, that's 2 takes. Then he's like, improvise.
Right.
Then he's like, now have fun. You got any thoughts? You got anything you want to do? Then we do like 5 takes where it's just, if you find a thread, he keeps pulling on it. He gives you ideas. You start, the other actors and comedians are throwing it. So it's this thing where it's very structured for the first 2 takes. And then the next 6 takes are just anything goes in a way. You still got to keep it in the lane. You can't go off on these weird tangents. Otherwise they'll just end up on the cutting room floor. But
Which cutting room floor is basically edit stuff is now all digital, but it used to be film. They would literally cut it and fuse things together.
And the film would drop on the floor.
So when you cut stuff and throw it away, think of like a barber, somebody cutting your hair or whatever.
That's a great metaphor. So the way McKay did that whole movie, you could make a second Step Brothers with just all the stuff that was cut.
They did that with Anchorman, didn't they?
I think they tried to do a version of that. Yes.
I think I saw
and
it.
that's also a McKay film where you can do that. Like he shoots so much great stuff that doesn't get used. You could probably make a second film.
Same with this. These podcast episodes, when we're done, they're usually around 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
That's it?
we could, but we have all this other footage.
Yeah.
I generally take out when the guest is talking, but they could see how engaged I am.
Yeah.
That would actually be such a funny podcast thing if you pre-record so people don't know 50 episodes of something and you just manipulate what the guest is saying and it's just mostly me talking and then
and it's a lot of them agreeing with you and dying laughing. That I think you just came up with a new formula.
Yeah.
You need to think about this.
Okay.
You need to think about this.
I asked Damon Jr. about setting, because obviously Will Ferrell's a king and see how funny he was. And Damon said that also clip this so I could send it to him. I don't think this is, it's not my business to share his point of view, but I don't imagine he would care. But he said the funniest person on set by far was Adam McKay.
Yeah.
And just nonstop, all the alts and how quick he was, just a machine. And obviously he's so funny. And I know that from I've heard things from him at Second City. It was Second City, right? It wasn't because I never saw any clips from it, but he was just a powerhouse. And it's funny when you have somebody who's so good at bits and loves performing to get most of his notoriety and success from being behind the camera.
Yeah.
And like people might not know how funny he is.
And he sits. I was very fortunate to work with him on a couple of projects, and he sits back in Video Village. For those, it's where the director and producers often sit and watch on monitors what's happening on set.
Because a lot of times multiple
monitors
cameras.
You have multiple cameras shooting.
And monitors are just like
so you can look
screens.
at A camera, B camera, C camera, and you can kind of get the director has a way, and in his mind, he or she is already editing.
We'll put up a picture of Video Village right here.
But he sits back in Video Village, and let's say, the set is the kitchen or whatever, just off camera here, and he'll be watching. But he yells out these hilarious ideas, and when you're on set, you hear it, and you're like, oh my God, that's awesome. I got to say that, or that's genius, or God, yes, I want to do it. Let's do it again, do it again, do it again, and you want to do it because he feeds you this just great, even if it's just a premise. Even if it's not.
Could you give me an example of a premise he's fed?
What if you came in with no shirt on?
Mm-hmm.
What would that? Or what if you came in? And that's just a hypothetical. But what if when you get done saying that line, maybe take a drink. Maybe help yourself with some liquor.
It's just when directors direct you to play, as opposed to which you need all tons of different direction. But when the direction is play, it's so fun.
It is. And he's a master. He's truly a master. So his sets were always the best time. Always, but Step Brothers, for whatever reason, everybody was just kind of I never saw anything other than pure joy on set.
I brought up Michael Keaton, and as a red herring, I gave Beetlejuice, but we were talking about addiction, and he did that opioid show. But also, I was talking with Damon Jr. about Keaton in The Other Guys, and also plug in The Other Guys. If for some reason you haven't seen it, it's a good one. It's one of my favorite comedies.
Yeah,
and Keaton is so specific and good and funny and dramatic.
Yeah,
and Damon was telling me certain things about how he would show up to set, and like the first take was a certain way, and then, but without me telling somebody else's point of view, if you even remember and are comfortable talking about it, could you tell me a little bit, because he's like I feel like people, like he was a comedian first.
Yeah.
I feel like people might not know that.
People forget, like if you haven't seen Night Shift, go back and see Night Shift. He was electric in Night Shift.
He's incredible.
Which is one of Ron Howard's first movies. And Henry
People
Winkler.
that don't know, Ron Howard was Andy Griffith's son and ended up meeting Henry Winkler in Happy Days.
Happy Days.
Which was a show in the 70s that took place in the 50s. It would be like a show today taking place in the early 2000s.
Yes, of course. But Night Shift. Anyway, go see it. But you're right. Michael Keaton was
plugging a Boston Legal and Night Shift.
But to me, it was in the pantheon of comedies of the 80s. It deserved to be mentioned. What were we talking about?
Keaton on set.
Keaton on set. So
specifics?
Keaton, I owe him a debt of gratitude. And the reason is because
tell him here.
Thank you, Michael. I want to thank you for setting me straight in a way. We were on set. It was the day that Damon and myself and Michael, we were shooting the funeral scene. Mm-hmm. So we're all in these dress blue uniforms, police uniforms.
Dress blue, police. Yeah.
The police formal uniforms. They're formal uniform, dress blues. And we were at the funeral, and I remember we were on break, and because we were all standing in a line together, and we were on break, and we were kind of just shooting the breeze and just kind of hanging out and talking about whatever was going on. And I remember later that day when we wrapped, because we were done at noon, or we were done, sometimes it was
early day.
We were only shooting that portion of that day. So I remember I was done in the afternoon, and they were like, what are you guys gonna do? Everybody's talking about what their plans are. And I lamented. I said, I got to go do this audition. And, because we were in New York filming, I was like, I got to go do this audition, and I don't want to do it. Because
this is annoying, but could I guess what he said to you?
Yeah, Gus.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Often on this podcast, I talk about the importance of language, even the language we use with ourselves, and sometimes saying I have to do instead of I get to do. Mm-hmm. And my guess is Keaton offered you a bit of perspective. He allowed you to recognize the position that you're in as opposed to the imposition that you're in. And this is what you do. And your job isn't the job until you get the job. Your job is the audition. And how lucky that you're working one job and you're going to another job. Now, sure, one doesn't pay as much, but you're getting off at noon. Enjoy this. Mm-hmm. Beetlejuice.
Almost verbatim. But with a little more scold in it. It wasn't quite as gentle as you were just now. Please.
How much? Scold from, give me 1 to 5. How much more should I bring it up?
It caught me off guard.
Hey!
No. Probably dialed that back. It was.
Oh, I didn't even go yet. I thought I had a sneeze.
Oh, that was a sneeze?
I thought I had to. It didn't come out. But no, you go ahead. You tell me. I asked you, and I would love to hear.
No, it was more of a scolding. It was a hey. It was a hey. It was a hey.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how it was. It was like hey, and it was more of a disappointed hey. You know, it was like hey, listen.
Did he overhear, or were you talking to him?
No, he was talking directly to me.
No, I'm saying, did you tell him? Michael Keaton. I have
Well,
to do
the
this?
three of us were standing there. You know, it was just a group.
You, Michael, and
Damon.
Okay.
And I was lamenting about this audition, and he goes, hey, listen, man, and then he comes like, it was like a big brother almost. He was like, he goes, you're going about this wrong, man, and don't belittle what we do. We're actors, honor it, be proud of it. Because I think it was a dramatic audition, which required me to emote, and stuff. And so I'm sitting there, I got to do all this, bullshit. And I was kind of doing that. And he's like, no. Don't belittle what we do. Don't play it down. Don't do that. This is a privilege. It's an honor. Treat it with respect. Treat it, give
also,
it.
he's in his dress blues.
Yeah. And the thing was, I was kind of like, okay, man, take it easy. But later in the afternoon, I was like, yeah, honor it, appreciate it, respect it, care about it. Don't blow it off. And, if I drill down deeper, I'm sure it was me being all poo about it, so that I would protect myself when I didn't get it, but he was right, no, get it, don't get it, whatever, you got to go do your best. And that means you need to focus, and you need to do the work, and you need to be off book, and you need to and you need to care. Mm-hmm. And he was right. He's 100% right. And from that moment on, after that little thing happened, I've always had a tremendous respect for him. And now I do. I treat it with much more respect, I think.
Here's a conversation thereafter, treating it with more respect. Before, maybe you didn't think about it, but how did you treat it?
I always treated it like I had enough respect to have done the work, to be off book for auditions or to care. But I always had that self-protection, because when you get rejected 1,000 times, it hurts. Okay. It just hurts. It hurts on many levels, your ego, your pride, the fatigue, why that guy and I did just as good. Oh, fuck it, whatever. Because it's subjective. It is a subjective business. Sorry, it is. And it, you get to a place where you start protecting yourself a little bit. And how do you do that? Well, you say it doesn't matter. Fuck it. Yeah, I went in for an audition, didn't get it, typical, whatever. This wasn't for me. This didn't matter. And, I don't do dramatic shit. I do comedy. You justify, and you do all these things over time to protect yourself because you get the shit beat out of you in this business. When you go in and constantly audition, you're constantly told no. So I think before that thing with Michael, I had started to build up a callus of, I got to go in and do this thing, whatever. No, not whatever. Mm-hmm. Because then after, Michael kind of readjusted my thinking, I was like, yeah, you know what? He's right. Don't do all this show. Don't do all this talk. Don't do all this preparatory work to soften the blow. Just do the work. Care about the work. Put your best foot forward. Care. And guess what? If it doesn't work, okay, next. And by the way, you manage your expectations. My new expectation was, yeah, you know what? Probably the majority of auditions are not going to happen, but it doesn't mean that I should lessen my commitment or myself. I need to be as the best I can be on every audition. It just kind of recalibrated my thinking, and I'm always grateful for that.
Rob, listen, I mean, what you're talking about is beautiful perspective. What you're talking about is also on a superficial level. It's how you make the money, going in there. And sometimes you just have to make that money. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sona?
Yeah.
Sona, are you in therapy?
I'm not, but sometimes I feel like I should be.
Why aren't you?
I think it's a time thing.
Ask if I'm in therapy.
Rick, are you in therapy?
Of course.
Yeah.
Time thing, it was a schlep. You have to find a therapist,
Yes.
which already, you have to go there, you have to park, you have to go in, you have to do the thing, you have to sit in the waiting room, you have to leave, you have to change into your indoor clothes because you just sat in a therapist's office.
Yeah.
You don't know if you want to use their tissues or not when you have to blow your nose because there's so many people going and touching them.
So many people.
That's where BetterHelp comes in. Go to BetterHelp.com. Within 48 hours, they match you with a clinical licensed therapist.
Oh.
If you don't like the therapist they match you up with, you could change it anytime at no cost.
That's a big one for me. Changing it.
Why not try? It's just nice to have somebody to talk to, somebody who knows what they're saying. For
Just
me,
check in with yourself.
yeah.
Sorry.
And no, it's okay. I think in therapy, you would learn that a lot of women feel the need to say sorry all the time because of this world that we live in that forces you to be submissive, which is fucking bullshit.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not sorry.
Visit betterhelp.com/TYSO to save 10% off your first month. How do you spell that?
BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/TYSO. TYSO.
In the season of giving, give yourself what you need with BetterHelp.
That's nice.
JonMichael, all that is out. We cut to commercial. We come back. Maybe, I guess, so people aren't confused. Why is that full now?
Continuity. Are your fans like continuity?
Oh, my
freaks?
fans are big continuity people.
They get on you about that.
I just realized that what you asked was a fair question, and I lied to you, being playful. No, they're not big. Right before we came back, I made a joke about needing to reestablish this being here.
The exact line. Exact line.
And didn't want to lie. But listen, my fans, they probably catch it. They're just nice enough to not be like...
They choose. They hover over their keyboard and they're like...
Right.
I'm just going to let this one go today.
They do comment on things that they think will bother me. Like sometimes if something goes out of focus or if like the blanket is falling or something. Like I know when Rick was watching this back, he was upset. And I'll tell him, and the truth is, yeah. Oh, I forgot to offer you a
But they know
mustache.
you. They know you so well. No, I'm good. Thank you, though. Love that.
Let's talk more about Michael Keaton.
Sure. He's fantastic.
Could you tell me of anything? Do you remember any specific? Like, I want to talk about what things that Damon told me, but it's not my place to. And just some cool, interesting things about him. But like,
he was just so gracious. I mean, I remember watching him, throughout the 80s and 90s, and then to have a chance to work with him. I mean, he's had such legendary roles. He's been nominated for Academy Awards. He's done dramatic. He's done comedy. He's just a iconic, to me, iconic figure.
I'm going to cut you off because that's what we do in this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm talking specific like comedy choice stuff, like him coming in and like reading maybe some, and then once it's go time, just he made some choices in that movie that are award-winning. I mean, they're brilliant. Also, I mean, it's also the writing of it, but the reveal of him giving all the police, all of his police people, his speech to reveal that he's just a Bed Bath & Beyond, but the stakes that he did it in, and it's just like, I guess what I'm asking is a leading question. Say, I don't know. Sometimes we watch people and we're like, I don't want to make his choices, but like that unlocked something for me.
Yeah.
Damon talked about that a little bit, like, because his comedy, at least in that movie, but his comedy is so funny because of the situation he's in, but he is so serious. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm just commenting how much I like about him in that.
The only things that I saw, and we didn't have a whole lot of scenes together, but when I was around him, I was trying to observe him. And this has been a while ago, but when I observed him, I always loved to hear his ideas. So, Adam would come in and say, "Hey, Will, I'm going to have Will come in, and now he's full of piss and vinegar." And
Will Ferrell,
and he doesn't want his. He's done with the wooden gun, right? He wants the real gun. All right, and so play it out or what? Basically, you know. So Will comes in and goes, I want my gun, or whatever he says, and Keaton. At first, he was going to be shocked, and he was, and then he goes, what if? I think he was the one who pitched the idea. He goes, what if I'm in the middle of something and I just, I don't even hesitate. I look for it, and then I just kind of hand it to him. because I recognize that tone as oh, he's back in the game and he deserves it. And it's just not even a thing. And I think, McKay was like, that's great, try it. And he did, and that's the one that made the movie, So to hear the act, I always like hearing these really seasoned actors that, make good choices and have interesting thoughts on, oh, that's a great way to react, as opposed to shocked or disapproving, or he just went with it. He was like, yeah.
This is a nerdy thing to talk about, or maybe even seemingly pretentious, but like, I love comedy. I love bits. I mean, it's my language. It's my life. I know. I assumed, and I'm seeing, and it's awesome that you're here. Yeah. But like, choices to me are like, some people, like, you could tell who a person really is by the way they talk to their Alexa or like a waiter or whatever. Like, yes, you could also tell something, not about necessarily their soul, about a person by the specificity of the choices they make, because they're willing to, they're not just doing the things that are on the shelf that they've seen a lot. They're like actually making choices, even though they were probably inspired by something, but just seeing people make choices, and just you saying that, and like people that are veterans, like they only are because they understand the importance of choices. Yeah. And having somebody like a McKay there to make choices on your behalf. Yeah. That's what improv is. That's why it feels so nice to be part of a team or something. I'm just like, I had, when I first moved here, I've talked about this on my podcast, I had two people on my bulletin board of directors I want to work with. It was David Wayne and Edgar Wright.
Love those guys.
And I ended up working with David Wayne, put a picture. And then I haven't worked with Edgar Wright yet, but Adam McKay is on that list now. And there's, Scorsese.
You got a great list. You got a great list. That is, because David Wayne is fantastic.
What have you? I know you guys.
I've never worked with him.
You had to have.
No, can you believe it? I have not worked with him. But we have circled each other. We have such close friends.
Because his group feels like your group to me.
Yeah, and his a lot of the people he plays with. And listen, I do a charity event at my hometown. He's come out to my charity event and stuff. So we just haven't had the opportunity yet. And I wish we would, because I think he's just unbelievably talented. Really smart.
I also, unless this isn't supposed to be known, but you're going to be doing we could take this out, but a movie with Sean William Scott soon.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to talk about that?
Well, I don't know much about it yet, but it's happening. But it's going to happen.
Role Models is one of my favorite movies as well.
Same.
So I'm like also putting like that together.
I still use, when a movie gets you, the verbiage becomes part of your lexicon, right? So I find myself, I still say, when I'm talking about the private parts for a lady, it's a whispering eye.
Yeah, I say whispering eye sometimes.
So like that stuff makes it into your fabric.
Yeah.
And you use it. And I still quote movies from the 80s because it's still in my, like any scenario that presents itself, from Caddyshack or Ghostbusters or whatever, I still quote the lines. I think that's what a good movie or a good comedy does. It becomes part of your fabric.
I must say, based on the two movies that you mentioned, one of which Harold Ramis directed, the other he was in, Ghostbusters and Caddyshack, the movie I did with David Wayne, I played Harold Ramis and got to work with that ensemble of people that are amazing playing people that are amazing. Yeah. And now I'm connecting, right? Kansas, what is the charity called?
Was it the Big Slick?
The Big Slick, yeah. And I see a lot of people there. Paul Rudd goes to it. Yeah. David Koechner goes to it, right?
Sudeikis, Heidi Gardner, Eric Stonestreet, Rudd, and myself. We're the hosts.
Forte.
We're the hosts.
Didn't Forte do it once?
But
Will Forte?
Rudd, Sudeikis, Stonestreet, Koechner, Heidi Gardner, and me, we're the host of it. Because
are you all from Kansas?
We're all from Kansas City. And then like, oh my God, now we have like 30, wonderful David Wayne, Damon Wayans even has been there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Damon Wayans has been right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah. Get to a clip.
I don't know what it is. You're not into this?
I'll show you.
Rick.
Listen, but actually this is a little intimate, so try to be cool.
Go.
My daughter passed when she was 7 years old. I cried, I grieved, I had to bury her soul. I thought, damn, this is loving life and living it, killing it, loving it, silliness. So I mask it inside, I bury hidden it. Joke be nothing but fire breaching the girth. reaching your worth. Lord Jesus Christ is taking the earth. I scorched. I heard it when I heard it. Lord above a 39. I push it in cleavage, F in the night, and gorge on. It's done. Hitting up on my factory. That's that. I'm in Mactory, Maxtory. Mac to the back, tactory, tack back to me. Now I living and loving and taking living. Yeah, and now we hold it on his hose on. Yeah. Take a look inside my soul. It's black as fuck. Yeah, but it's black and gold. Yeah, I'm young, bitch, but I'm also young and old. I say I got a hot ass, but my ass is hot and cold. Cause sometimes I do, sometimes I don't want it. No. Sometimes I don't want it. No, do not go into the.
We know how it goes if you
can't bop, bitch. Coming through the back door.
It's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. I miss him.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah, he is. And I got to do Let's Be Cops with him, and we got to do a bunch of stuff together.
Oh, I forgot about Let's Be Cops. That was a funny movie.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a good time doing it.
Jake Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Jake Johnson was right there.
Oh, I love it. I love Jake too. He's really fun. Good energy. Just fun guy.
Yeah.
Always like go getter.
You want to talk about choices?
Yeah.
That guy makes some choices.
Yeah.
I love people that make choices,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
So you worked on Adam McKay in Other Guys and Step Brothers. Step Brothers was first, right? Step Brothers came out, I think, in 2008.
Step Brothers was first. Then it was The Other Guys. And then he produced a movie, which he didn't direct, but Neil Brennan directed, called The Goods. Live Hard, Sell Hard, with Jeremy Piven and some
For those of you not in the business, Jeremy Piven is he plays
modern day
Ari
actor.
Gold on Entourage.
Yes, and but it was a good cast. It was a lot of fun. So I've had a chance to work with him on that, and then on his Funny or Die HBO series, I got to do some bits on that with him. So I've had a chance to work with him on a lot of stuff, a lot of projects. So,
man, you're part of a really cool community.
Yeah, I'm blessed that I got the opportunity to work with such great people.
Where does that come from? Was Daily Show your first into business?
No, my first break in the business was Saturday Night Live.
That was like 05-ish?
04, 05.
One season, right?
One season,
and
yeah.
that was obviously then before the Daily Show,
Right.
based on because you said your first big break.
Yeah, and then
it made me realize it was
and then
first.
the Daily Show was 06 to 09.
What was your audition like for SNL? By the way, I have that wig there if you want to use it.
Oh, thank you. Maybe in a minute.
Did you do any wig characters?
I did. So SNL auditions are, for non-stand-ups. I wasn't a stand-up at the time. I was just an improviser. But
where by the way? Second City?
Upright Citizens Brigade, UCB in New York. And so my teachers were like Amy Poehler, Matt Besser, Matt Walsh.
They were there because it must have been when they first started it.
Yes, I was one of their first students.
Was the show on? Was Upright Citizens Brigade show on air yet?
Yep.
And they were teaching while that was there. Cool.
Yep. And I was one of their students. That's why I'm an extra in like 20 of their episodes.
Cool, man.
They'd always say, "Hey, can you come down and be,
Yeah.
a security guard or this guy or the clerk or whatever?" And I'm, anything you need, man, anything you need. So. Anyway, that's where I learned. But what were we talking about?
Your audition for SNL.
Oh yeah, so improviser. So I had to make up characters, and I did 3 original characters and 3. I don't do impersonations, so it was more characterizations. So like I did, again, since I'm not an impersonator. I did Toby Keith. Because at the time I was bigger, and I kind of had that big guy feel. So I was like, I'll be Toby Keith, singing some racist song or something, something tacky. And I remember I wanted to do something that was in the headlines. And Jeremy Shockey was a tight end for the New York Giants, and he had just gotten in trouble for saying something homophobic or whatever. And it was in the headlines. So I was like, oh, that's easy. So I'll throw on. He had long blonde hair, so I just threw on his jersey and a long blonde wig and.
So you sang a racist song. You did a homophobic rant.
Yes. And then I was Paul Lind.
I don't know who that is. Is that the chocolate guy?
That's the center square on Hollywood
yes.
Squares, from back in the day.
Uh-huh.
And And then I did 3 original characters that I
Who's a racist
I
guy.
who's a country singer who's a racist.
Different wigs.
Totally different wigs, though. See, that's the thing. But yeah. So SNL was my first. And man, talk about being thrown in the deep end. Like I had done bit parts a lot, like on Conan O'Brien. I was man in the audience. I was Tarzan, the guy that speaks to animals. I was security guard. I was, but Conan's version, totally different, guys. Totally different. Way sexier, but whatever. It's a totally different thing.
Did you look good?
God, no, I didn't. But
I remember a Tarzan in the audience, and I can't picture, but that's you.
Remember, show business, as we talked about earlier, is subjective. It's subjective. So
let's cut to a clip.
So I probably did 25 appearances on Conan, just as
while you're taking classes at UCB.
Yes, as a bit player,
right? As
a day player, or whatever. And I was always excited if I got a line, and so I'm always in debt to Conan because he helped me. Because I was scared, I was nervous. I didn't have any experience in me. I had been in the Marines all through my 20s. Active duty. What did I know? I didn't know jack squat.
Active what?
Active duty. Thank you. I love you crank yourself up on that. Oh, dude, so good. But so I was thrown into the deep end, to say the least, with SNL, and I was way green and very inexperienced. The Daily Show actually was a wonderful thing because John was very patient and very gracious with me and allowed me to develop and
For the
grow.
people who aren't in show business, Jon Stewart.
John Stewart from the original.
From the movie Angel Gets Its Wings.
That's right. Also, the Adam Sandler film about Daddy's Home, or no,
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. Thank
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Big Daddy, right?
Yeah.
Right. He was the the real kid's dad.
It turns out.
I was trying to, because I remember Spaghetti and Meatball, and I remember stuff from it.
Remember, because I think he got her pregnant at some championship baseball game in Toronto.
Right.
If memory serves.
The actress the actress that is, not that this is her identity, but Judd Apatow's wife is the girlfriend.
That's right.
But not the mom. The mom passed away, and the mom of the...
That's correct.
Do you know those kids were twins? Two of them?
I did, because they went on to Disney fame later in life.
Sweet
Zach and
gives up
Zach and Cody. Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, where they lived in a hotel.
Yeah.
Sweet Life.
Of Zach and Cody. Yeah, I couldn't remember. But yeah, he's funny in that.
Yeah, and he didn't do many movie roles.
Jon Stewart?
Yeah.
You know why, right? My Keynes was wrong. Do you know why?
Oh.
You want to get him on the phone?
That phone's too slick.
I got it.
See? I was afraid. Just leave it. Probably leave it. Probably just leave it. Just don't even try to pick it up. Don't even try to pick it up. We'll call him later.
It's such an annoying fucking thing, and it made me laugh when they gave it to me. But now I literally can't get the case off.
You got to get that off because you can't go through life like that. Come on.
It's good to not be on my phone as much.
Okay, I like your pot. You always have a good mindset.
Show the sentences. What were you saying?
I was going to say mindset. Were you going to say finish people's sentences?
I thought we were on the same mind when you said set. I thought we were talking sentences. Finish each other's sentences.
Oh, yeah. No. I was saying you have a good mindset.
Other sentences.
Not the mindset. I was saying mindset. I'm saying mindset. You're saying finish sentences.
Yeah. Because of the way I thought about not being on my phone as much.
Yeah.
I get it. Rob, I ask everybody when they come on this podcast these 3 questions.
I've been waiting.
When was the last time you masturbated?
2 weeks ago.
When will you masturbate next?
I won't.
So 2 weeks ago was your last time?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I don't need to ask the 3rd question then.
Go ahead and fire away. Let's hypothetical.
Will you masturbate? What is your take on childish humor? Masturbating, poops, farts, boogers, these types of things.
I think farts are classic. And I think a well-timed fart.
That's what she said.
Go Browns.
So I think farts are classic, and a well-timed fart can satisfy like no other. Booger, gross humor, boogers, poop, diarrhea, vomit, bile. Doesn't do much for me.
Dude.
Like,
then why do it? Why do it?
Why do it? Exactly. I shouldn't have done that.
You're a yes-ander.
I'm a yes-ander. Improvise.
Farts, yes. Diarrhea, no. Let's shine a magnifying glass on that.
Yeah.
Why?
Because oftentimes farts are not controllable. They're accidents, and they're just air. Bad air, but just air. Diarrhea
The first 2
is a mess.
But the first 2 are also true for diarrhea. People aren't unpurposely having diarrhea.
No, they're not purposely, but they also know when it's coming.
Okay. Well, you've lived a luxurious life, my friend. Have you never been outside thinking you have to fart and it's just a regular everyday street fart and then you're not Jewish?
No, I don't. Why does that has nothing to do with?
Oh, yes, it does.
So farts can. Well, I've heard of sharting, right, where you shit fart.
Yeah, sharding sounds like an athletic version of pooping your pants.
But to me, the shard is the fart comes, and then the turtle head comes, and then you go, oh, I got to stop.
See,
now I need to get to a restroom.
Because you're thinking about poop, not diarrhea. Sometimes when you fart, it's not like a fart. It's not like here's your butthole, right? And here is the outside of the butthole, and here is the inside. Here's where the body is. Okay. Here's the poop, just chilling in there.
Okay.
A shart, you're saying you fart, and then just a little poop comes out.
Yeah. To notify you it's time to get to a bathroom.
You're assuming what is here is a solid poop. But sometimes there's other stuff hanging out. And you'll have a little fart and it shoots like stuff out. It's not just like a turtle head. It's not the
I'm aware of the spackle effect.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've never farted and that came out?
Perhaps that has happened. Now that I reflect upon your very clearly defined definition of diarrhea.
I'm big on definitions, and that's not a blanketed statement. I just happen to, in the Jewish culture, it's a big talking point. And I have on this podcast leaned into originally, ironically, farts and poops and goblins coming in pooping on people and us having diarrhea, because there's something funny about playing arrogant. There's something funny about playing a little boy, all these things. And they just become these devices to where, like, I think it's lost its irony, even though I'm aware it's not the funniest thing in the world. There's something fun about using that stuff as a device. I just feel that
I think it's funny if it's I think all of it's funny if it's earned. So like what am I thinking of? Bridesmaids. Okay? I think they did a good job of using diarrhea for that scene because it was earned. Right? It was bad lunch. Of course, when you trying on wedding dresses, if you were to be honest and say, what's the worst thing that could happen here?
The husband calls, the fiance calls and says, I don't want to marry you anymore.
Okay, that is bad.
Uh-huh.
Another bad thing was in this all white shop in this high end boutique.
Diarrhea.
In a what? Thank you.
Oh, I thought we were on the same
No, but
sentences.
the second one.
Right.
So maybe the second worst thing that could happen. But in an all white dress in an all beautiful carpeted white boutique, high end, where you're supposed to be, special day, special memory, special everything. That works.
I actually heard in the script, it was originally that Tim Heidecker was calling to cancel the wedding.
Yeah.
And then McKay happened to have been on set the day helping. He's like, why don't we try one where instead of that, she has diarrhea? And they used that. But what about real life? What about when you're in a public bathroom and you hear somebody farting and having diarrhea? You're not laughing?
I'm not laughing at all. I don't enjoy that one bit. I get furious about it.
Mad at them?
No, not at them. That's not fair. Mad at the situation.
That they had to be in or that you had to be in?
Both. I feel bad for them, but also I'm like, you made choices, dude.
Right. That's I'm being serious.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You even said farts are funny because they're involuntary.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, and you're saying you made choices. You believe people that have stomach issues and diarrhea and have to take dumps in public places is, hey, listen, they did it to themselves, man. And that's the difference.
Yeah, well, listen, I of course people can be ill. Of course people could have eaten something bad. Of course there's all kinds of reasons why someone would have to be flagellant or take a diarrhea spill. Okay, I get it. I understand that, and I understand that. However, I do think the disturbing things that I've heard in airport bathrooms come from a night of hard boozing, followed by a tremendous trip to White Castle or Taco Bell. Those are choices.
Okay.
Those are choices. And then the next day, they're like, oh shit, I got to fly to Chicago. They come in and they destroy, absolutely mutilate the bathroom, the public bathroom. Uh-huh. I know they woke up in a place that wasn't the public bathroom. I know they could have taken that, I could have done that business at home, but they didn't.
How do you know that? Push in on them. How do you know that? And answer me sincerely.
Because it's what you learn as a child. What's the first thing your parents tell you? Hey, we're getting ready to take a trip. Do you need to use the restroom? Get in there and use it right now because we're going to be on the road for about 3 hours. Get in there and go. I don't care if you don't have to go. Go in there and try. Go in there and try. We learned that as a child. These are fundamental. This is base. This is base. Okay? This is base shit. Pun intended. It's base shit. And so then when you show up at the airport as an adult human in this world and you go, oh, you know what? All that White Castle's catching up with me and all the whiskey and I had Jack and Cokes I had last night. I guess it's time to go powder and pepper up the fucking men's room with some of my hot lava for everybody to enjoy. Even the nice guy over there who just has to take a simple whiz.
Let's go over to the nice guy. Come back. Simple
whiz. And he's in there thunder mugging it.
Oh, for Simple Whiz, if we have time, can we Photoshop Ben Stiller as Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder, but put on the Tin Man hat or whatever from The Wiz and font it Simple Whiz. So, it's interesting talking about somebody who, one of the first things we teach our kids from a father who never showed his son Beetlejuice. Another conversation. What I will say is, I don't drink.
You don't drink alcohol.
Correct. I'm not sober. I'll have a vodka soda once a month, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
I don't drink.
Okay.
Also, nothing against White Castle. I used to go there.
I love it.
I don't really eat that food anymore.
Okay. I don't eat fast food either.
Because I know.
Anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I know what it does and how it feels.
It tears you up.
But I'll tell you what I do. Pun not intended, but it happened. And I'm not going to pretend that I intended that pun the way you did with what you said, because that was not intended. You found it after the fact. I have diarrhea in public places. I will wake up, and if I took the right amount of magnesium and I have enough time, I will have a poop in the morning. But
I feel like I've offended you. I feel like I've offended you in some way.
You know when people talk about, like, there are people out there.
It wasn't meant to be offensive to you. What I was saying was, you ask about public bathrooms. I go into public bathrooms to take a simple whiz, and I hear all kinds of hell breaking loose. I hear all kinds of hell breaking loose.
What all I'm saying is,
and I find it shocking.
I'm offering the perspective that I think it's funny, you think it's shocking, and putting into there's a sample. There's so many different variables of the differences between you and me. I mean, there's got to be at least. I mean, I'm not even from Kansas City, but pun intended. You think it's a choice. That's what you said about your son. When he came out.
No, I also acknowledge though that some people have irritable bowel syndrome or people.
Hear me out.
Because we were talking about the difference between diarrhea and farts.
No. What I'm talking about is there's no ego involved here. I'm talking about the psychology. I'm telling you the truth. Okay, so get off my ass. What I'm saying is somebody who doesn't find diarrhea funny, perhaps they think that with the exception of extenuating circumstances, you could control that. For right or wrong. I don't think that. So knowing to me how much empathizing with been there, bro, I know what that's like. It's funnier. I think it's funny because I don't think it's a choice.
Well, one of the best stories I've ever heard about diarrhea, 80 miles.
I don't know it. You got my attention.
Well, here's the thing. It's such a good story that I will do it a disservice.
Like when I did the Larry and Jerry Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee thing.
But if you want to hear the best diarrhea story,
what do you guys think?
You've ever heard in your life, you need to get 80 miles.
Oh, 80 or AD?
AD.
Why don't I know who this is?
Oh, he's an unbelievable comedian. I think he's the head writer for Fallon right now.
Because that name sounds familiar, but if I had to guess, I would say he was a jazz musician, and I'm still going to guess that. Oh yeah, he's the
head writer for Fallon, isn't he?
I did not know that. I believe it, but. I've seen him in lots of things, but what I think of him as the most is from Role Models.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So
he's funny.
He is so funny. He's so funny.
Ooh,
but
maybe I'll ask him to come on the pod.
He has a story about Central Park and Hot Number 2, and you need to hear it because I found it to be one of the most satisfying, pleasing stories I've ever heard. So, and that's why I won't retell it because one, it's not mine to do.
Understood.
And two, I won't do it justice like he can.
Yeah. I respect that.
But as much as you appreciate the humor of it, you will love this.
I appreciate the humor in it when there's because of the vulnerability that's under it.
Yes.
Like there's layers to that. Like my mom, I told the story once on a podcast, I think, but 6.5 years ago, I got out of a breakup and I was okay, but I was sad. And I was here and I was flying into Cleveland. My arms were too tired. And when originally the trip was supposed to be, my girlfriend at the time was coming with. We broke up a few days before. She didn't come. I land. My mom picks me up from the airport. I'm surprising my dad. And we're driving home, and I'm fine. But I'm talking to my mom. I'm sad, and how like the friendship I had, I really valued. Yeah. And I just feel like, and I was like watery eyed, but like we're turning into where our street is, and my mom said, "Ricky, I have a duty that's coming out of me right now. I'm sorry, I can't listen." And it's not like we knew this was coming. I was talking for like 3 minutes and the mom goes, "I have a duty, I can't." And then my mom still wanted me to help surprise my dad. So we parked at the end of the driveway not to go up. And my mom said, "Just wait here. I want to see Dad's face." So I'm like, confiding in my mom. She says, "Hold on, wait here." Yeah. She goes in to take a duty to come back out and says, "Okay, you could come on in now." And like, there are so many things about that work for me because in that moment
that work for me.
No, sincerely, because in that moment, there's something about duty that is a love language. Because like I said earlier, I had a lot of stomach aches. I didn't know I was lactose intolerant, blah, 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 blah. I was just in a lot of stomach pain. And when you get a stomach ache, I can't do anything else. I'm crying.
Yeah.
And there's something about stomach aches and when somebody has to have a duty where I understand. Mm-hmm. I'll put this heartbreak and me waiting in a car crying for your duty. There's something about a duty to me that is, and with that it's so
precedence.
Funny. Yes.
It takes precedence.
Because it's so important. It means pain. It means asking for empathy. It means I know what... So there is something, and I haven't made this association ever until just now, but like I can empathize with it, but there is something funny about it. It's like, that's my pratfall.
Okay.
Anyway.
That's interesting.
I'm just making a discovery of, because there's something so important about duties to me.
Yeah.
And also like I've had problems taking duties.
Yeah.
So like I'm appreciative of a duty. Anyway, but you came here to plug your podcast. Tell me what it's called.
So
Riggle's Picks?
what's the thing you're doing?
Yeah, this would be the thing where we edit it down and it's just me talking about duties for, and then just reaction shots of you laughing at the wrong time to my duty stuff.
Oh God. Yeah, no, listen, gross out humor in general, I don't, it doesn't do much for me unless it's earned. If things are earned,
100%.
then I'm on board with anything. If it's earned, it's funny and it's timed well, and I'm down for all of it. But I think a well-timed fart joke or a fart release.
A friend of mine, Andy Kozel, once said to me, buttholes have the best comedic timing.
The right to remain silent.
I know my rights. Let me tell you, I'm never silent. Everything about me makes noise.
That's a great quote.
He also says masturbating makes me 5 minutes late everywhere. And I just picture him like, if he leaves now, he'd be good.
Yeah.
But
I got quick.
Yeah.
I got real quick.
So you're an improviser at heart.
Yes.
And you've had a career as an actor, scripted, as a commentator on Daily Show, and but improv is your lifeblood, and it seems like maybe still is. Is that fair?
Yeah, I love it. I really love it. I love the art form of it. I love bringing it to whatever I'm trying to do.
Could you talk to me about doing it for a bit and now having a family, and like I'm at the point already where I'm like, comedy was everything.
Yeah.
What are we going to make? What are we going to create? How are we going to collaborate? And it's still, I guess it isn't, not because it's gotten less, but my blinders have been opened up to more of like, what am I doing this for? I want a house. I want a family. Like, part of it is appreciation of what I'm looking forward to. And I've been getting sad about some of this stuff. Like I put everything into this thing.
Yeah.
But even with the other stuff and in the personal life, improv and bits and jokes are so important in just the way I communicate. Could you talk to me at all about how that bleeds over into your real life? And like, when do you ever need to be like, hey, this doesn't need to be a joke? Or when are you like, hey, in my family, we get to do jokes? And
yeah, I think it's just a general sense of play, overarching sense of play. I love to have that in every aspect of my life, but for the moments that are inappropriate, like I wouldn't, there's a time and a place for everything. For me though, most of the time is a time to play. Most of it.
Did you feel that way before improv? Do you feel that way as a kid?
Always. It always felt like that. Now, of course, again, time and place, you don't, if someone's being vulnerable with you or opening up or they want to have a heart to heart, then you need to be there for them and serious, and you don't want to turn it into a bit, right?
You don't want to, or you choose not to?
I choose not to.
Right. But you see it and you go like,
yes, I identify the bit almost instantly. And then I'm like, nope, we're not doing that.
Did you learn that as you got older? Did you used to do that and you realized it wasn't worth it? Or you always knew?
I think I always knew. I think I just had, good judgment on what was in front of me and what was happening. I had to learn some lessons, like we all do. Like I'm like, I want to throw this out here, let's see what happens. And then everybody boos you or whatever. You're like, oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah. But you saw it too. You saw it too.
But you get a lot of, not now, Rob. Come on, man. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you're right, of course.
Right.
So I think bits are acceptable like 90% of the time. 90%.
Do you think that that batting average is so high? There's two ends of the spectrum and everyone in between, because the bits you make, you have such great instincts. This side doesn't negate that, by the way, let me say. And or that you have been able to be lucky enough and curated a group of people in your life that accepts you and or likes those types of things. Does that make sense? Like, are you just doing the greatest bits, or are you around people that we like what he does?
Probably the latter. Probably it's more, at least in my inner circle, you're right. Those are the people that are down for bits and understand that that's my love language, I guess. That's not one of the 5 love languages, but it's how I communicate and how I express all kinds of feelings and emotions, such as you're important to me, or I do care about you, or let's hang out together, or let's bond, or let's enjoy this moment, or you had to have been at a wedding or even a funeral or a graduation or someplace that's not, especially if it's someone else's event and it's not your time on stage. It's not your time to crack wise. It's not your time to do anything. But you lean over to one of your friends and you call out the obvious, whether it's somebody up there doing something stupid, someone just said something stupid, someone's dressed in a very bizarre way or what, you make reference, you try to come up with a little bit and you play it off or whatever. But those are my people, the people that are down for bits in that situation.
Are you married?
Not anymore.
I have a question about when you were, or it would make it more generic into just like your romantic partners. Do you find that when you're in a relationship with somebody that are you wanting to do bits, does that ever become an obstacle?
No, it becomes a force multiplier is what I would call it.
What do you mean?
It enhances. It makes things better. Because if you find someone that gets your bits, appreciates your bits.
Explain the difference.
Well, I've dated girls, and I'll be doing a bit, and when I say a bit, I can't give you a reference right now because it comes as it comes.
We get it.
But if they're annoyed by it,
right?
Okay, well that's probably a problem. If they don't appreciate it, if they're like, shut up with that, like I just want to know what you're going to order, or what. Just get to the. And those are fine every now and then.
Sometimes the bit is too much.
Yeah, and sometimes you're overbidding. You're doing too much. Just chill out and order something.
That'd be good merch. I'm overbidding. Chill out and order something.
Exactly. But to me it's a great filter because you're going to find out, does she appreciate the bits? Does she like to play bits? Does she do it with you? Does she enjoy them? Does she recognize when you're about to do a bit? Or when you're talking to someone, she's like, oh fuck, he's doing a bit. Then she's in on it. She's a partner. She's a team member.
Yeah.
She's in the squad. She's part of the, that's in her circle. And that's awesome. Now that's why it's a force multiplier. That's how you identify, because I don't see me ever stop doing bits. I'm not going to stop doing bits. Bits are going to be what I do. And so
you have to curate that circle.
Yes. And they don't have to enjoy the bits all the time. Of course not. But they can't hate.
Right.
That's the key.
Do you accept me as a bit machine?
Yes.
Right.
And if you do, great. And I, as a partner to you, will dial it back if you need me to. I will cool my jets. I will have a serious conversation. I will have a heart-to-heart. I will be vulnerable. I will, I can do the mature adult things. But when I want to play, you got to let me play. I need to play. It's as much to me as breathing. I like to play. I need to play. I need to crack wise. I need to, and that does not exclude the adult things in life, like feelings, like vulnerability, like hurt, like my feelings, my emotion, all those things. I will talk about that on an adult level. But if you don't let me play, I'm going to lose my mind.
Has that ever gotten your play? I mean, you work on so many comedies, but does your play, have you ever had to try and, the way you were saying you'll swallow a bit sometimes?
Yeah.
Have you had to been on set ever where you had to swallow it, or you didn't swallow it and it's like, not the right time or place? Like, have you learned, or have you always been doing bits?
I consider myself a pretty tactful person. So if I have an idea for a bit, I don't want to shock anybody. I don't want to. I respect the other actors in the scene not to fuck them up.
Right.
Without at least a preparatory. Hey, I got an idea. Are you guys cool if I try this thing? I'm gonna come in upset and confused or whatever, and then I let them know so that they're not.
Let the other actors know.
Yeah.
Or the direct.
Let the other actors know, or I bounce it off the director. And sometimes the director will be like, I got 10 setups today. I got no time for fuckery.
Yeah.
Do the lines and let's go.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, okay, because it's his set or her set. And I'm like, you got it. But a lot of times I'll be like, that sounds hilarious. Let's try it. Like, give me 2 takes, or give me 1 take this way, but then I want to try it your way, and that's great.
When do you have the instinct of not telling the other actors because you want to get a genuine response, but still letting the director know versus telling the actors?
Usually when we're in when you're in a mode where you're doing 4, 5, 6, 7 takes.
Right.
And whatever, for whatever reason, they're like, oh, everybody back to 1 because the camera's out of place or whatever. Great. But I got that 1 line out, or I got this thing out, or I got that out. And then you get to a point where they're like, I need to mix it up just to keep it fresh. And if you know your other actors and they know you and trust each other, then you can play a little bit and you can hit them with something that they hadn't heard before, or, as long as it stays in the lane. I learned that was a valuable lesson. I would start improvising like these whole other thought lines, right? And hilarious, maybe, but did not serve the story.
Right.
And therefore was cut out of the movie. Cutting room floor. And I remember thinking, dude, I remember watching a movie and that we had done this scene that, everybody was in tears. The crew was in tears.
Right.
Hilarious. We just couldn't get enough. But what happened was it was too far off of the storyline that they couldn't justify keeping it in. And when you're going into edit in a movie, you have to get that thing down to 90 minutes, especially a comedy. And so if it doesn't serve the story, they're going to cut it. They're going to cut it. So I had to learn that lesson. So any improv
you had to learn that lesson knowing when it doesn't serve the story, or just that was even a thing?
Both. And so now when I improvise, I keep it in the lane of where the scene's going.
Above the line is a term.
Yes. Well, that's but isn't that financial?
No, it's where like if we're having a conversation and then we going into, oh, you mean so like when you're blah, blah, and then it's like you're below the line. Like that's not what we were doing. Get back up here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I actually visualize that sometimes, even like podcasting when we go around, and sometimes we're below the line. I'm okay with it, but it's like let's get back up. To be on the thing.
Yeah.
Bill Lawrence said talked about this as joking a joke, and like it's a little different, but something that I am aware of now, and I don't always agree. But like you got a joke, and then you did another joke, but that joke was about this joke, and it just becomes too much.
I call it hat on a hat.
Yeah. And I get that for a standard rule, but I don't think that you can't do that. There was I had a Jake Johnson on recently, and we were talking about, and I can't remember the scene, but there was a scene where he was high in New Girl.
Okay.
And the scene was a minute plus of him and Jake, and there was somebody else I don't remember. I do apologize. Maybe it was Hannah Simone. I'm not sure, but you guys, I'm sorry. It was just character stuff of just, it had nothing to do with, it could have been, I got to go to the thing. I'm so high. Okay. Whoa. Yeah. Oh, he's really high. That's it. That's all you needed. They improvised, obviously, and went on for maybe 2 minutes, and it was enough, and it made it in the episode. And I sent it to my buddy John. It's like, you don't see this that much. This has nothing to do with story. It's just fucking funny.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, well, New Girl, and a network, it's even harder. But like some shows could earn that when they're far enough along in. But like, I get what you're saying, and if it doesn't service a story, sure. But it's case by case. But I do come from what I have learned is the minority perspective of like, hey man, if this is funny, put it in.
I agree.
Keep it in.
I always think funny trumps everything.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, if it's a laugher or it's memorable or you can't get enough of that, then you need more of that.
If it cannibalizes the reality of the movie or the show, like if it says, well, then sure, like we can't. It's so funny, but we can't because of this or that, or he's really their dad, not their son, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But like,
if it throws the whole logic base off,
usually you're not going to do that as a character.
No, but in those wonderful improvised moments, you actually discover more about the character, which is even to me, it makes it a little richer. But it always comes out. I think that's wrong. I feel for the directors and the producers because they're always battling time. And they're like, oh, God, there's so much gold. That's why I think you could make McKay so good about it because he gets all this great stuff and you could make a whole nother movie.
Here's my pitch to people that know what they're doing. And I say that not as somebody who is, but like you've already done this. You've come across this situation enough where it's like, it's funny, but we don't have the time. Make your script 70 pages. Make a 70-page movie. And if you have to make it 110 minutes, so be it. People will still enjoy it. But just know that because there's story.
That's a great idea,
and there's
man.
character development.
That's a great idea.
And when you have those fun moments, I agree. Like you see more about the character. Not only does the audience, but also the actor finds stuff, and you find tone. There's Zach Woods, and
you can always find threads too that you could come back to that you discover.
Yeah, do that bit again later on. Do the thing you're so angry about the blah blah blah.
Great callbacks that you never saw, that you never knew, that you discovered. And you're right. Zach and I came up together at UCB. So and he's a master of it.
He's somebody I would love to have on my podcast.
He's a master of it. He's a master of it.
So I had a conversation with one of my best buds I've referenced before, John DeWalt. He and Allison, his wife, he started with improv and did stand up for a bit, but now they're writers. And John and I, we love talking structure.
Yeah.
And he pointed something out that I agreed with. You watch these Zach Woods bloopers from The Office, and he is demolishing and making Krasinski and Rain break.
Oh yeah, online karate courses.
It's not the character. I don't remember Zach Woods' character in The Office, but that's not what the character is. At least not what we saw. So be it. The character's great. He's great in it.
Yeah.
But you see that, and he's demolishing, and they don't use it. Our hypothesis is that's not what the character is. That's way too overconfident. He has some spurts, but he's a bit submissive relative to that stuff. And it's like John said, as a writer, when you see somebody doing that, you change it and you go, yep, that's what it is now.
Yeah.
Even if that's not what it was the episode before.
If you're a good writer and you're a good producer and you can surrender your ego enough to say, oh, that's better, that's what it is.
But they are on that show.
Oh, they're the best.
They are.
Yeah.
I just had Gene Stubinski on. I don't know if you know him.
I don't.
He was. We talked a bit Office, and he wrote Dinner Party and Scott's Tots.
That's the best.
And we were talking a bit about the press and them, and they're all the best.
Yeah.
They do recognize it, but there's so many moving parts, and he's a reoccurring guest star. Mm-hmm. But like when you see that and you see these bloopers and how much this guy is demolishing. Yeah. Breathe oxygen into it. Even the best decided not to for whatever reason. Because we all have, if we're great, the people who are great have one or two pockets that they could tap into. Mm-hmm. Some people are the same thing and everything and it works. Mm-hmm. When they find that, I'm on caffeine, dude. I'm talking too much. But I just let people do the thing that they do and be as funny as possible.
I couldn't agree more.
So
have you seen Zach in... what's that HBO show where they're on the spaceship?
Silicon Valley. Oh no, 54 Avenue
5.
Avenue 5.
Avenue 5. He's genius.
Uh-huh.
He's genius, and it's because they grabbed the role, basically said let's let Zach do what Zach does best. Avenue 5 role here, boom, and he runs amok. Him and Josh Gad, the roles were just tailor made for these guys, and they are every time they step on, almost every syllable is a
Josh
home run.
Is another master.
Just a home run. Just a home run.
Yeah.
And it's glorious to watch. I cannot get enough. Can't get enough. I don't know why. I hope Avenue 5, they make seasons after season. I hope it never stops. I hope they stay lost in space forever because I could watch those characters specifically.
He created Veep as well.
Yeah.
Those shows are so character based.
And it's in crazy intelligent writing. It's wonderful, intelligent writing.
Brilliant.
But the people they select, they execute to perfection.
Yeah. And those are the types of dream jobs where it's character based. I have this conversation with some comedians on this podcast. You are one I would like to. Do you know, because I've discovered that a lot of funny people, some of which haven't figured the answer out to this out yet, they let Zach Woods do him. If you were in a meeting with whoever it is that you would love to work with and we're writing a show and a character that you're going to play, and they're going to say, Rob, what is your wheelhouse? What do you like to play? Where could you tap in? Do you know how to answer that? And if so, what is it?
I answer right away. Arrogant ignorance. That's my sweet spot. Mm-hmm. Large and in charge and totally wrong-headed.
Mm-hmm.
I have an appearance, I learned on stage that you can play against type. You can do, I can play anything I want to play, really. As
Bragging.
far, I mean, humble brag, not humble at all.
I could do anything.
But what I'm saying is I could, if I want to be a flamboyantly gay person, great. If I want to be, a meek character who, just scared of the world,
sure. I
can play those characters. But when as an audience member, because I was thinking about J.D. Salinger, you were a reader before you were a writer. Well, you were
watching before performing.
Exactly. And so I just know that when I look on stage and I see someone, if I see me, I don't see flamboyantly gay. I don't see this. I could play those things and have fun doing it, and that would be great. But I see a football coach. I see a drill instructor. Right. I see a dad.
So you're casting yourself in the eyes of the audience.
Right, because if I said that, I'd be, what do I believe? Before he says a word, what do I believe? What do all my preconceived notions? I believe this about that person right away. So that being the case, again, if we were talking about hitting the sweet spot, right? Well, then if I come out, let's say I'm a football coach, right? A high school football coach. I don't have to say a word and people are going to believe it. Then if I play arrogant ignorance, right? Then I can have a field day, because then I'm just large and in charge, and I'm wrong-headed, and I'm a dick, and I'm I can be a jerk, and I can be politically incorrect, and I can misunderstand things and mispronounce words, and it's all falls into the realm of believable. And then the character pops.
Yep.
And then you're kind of on board with that character.
John, who I was referencing before, and we always talk about how it's never a wrong choice to play confidence. Yeah. Confidence is just funny. Wrongly, rightly, earned, not earned. Yeah. There's something funny about playing confident.
Right, because most people shouldn't be confident. Most people should tread lightly. But to see someone just walk in and own it and be like, so in Step Brothers, my title basically was Adam Scott's henchman. I was just one of his goons, basically, right? And the first scene we shot, because they shoot out of order, right? So the first scene,
people who don't know the business in movies,
you shoot out of order. You don't shoot linear.
Right. Interesting. I know I'm going below the line for a second, but Spielberg oftentimes goes linearly when he works with kids, because he thinks that the kids would better it makes them better understand. So he will spend more time shooting scenes in order so the kids know that they're going through the story in order. I just thought that was an interesting fact.
And it's a great way to do it. I think that makes a lot of sense.
With Spielberg, you could spend more time and money on stuff, but
it's good to be Spielberg. It's good to be Spielberg.
Back to the line.
And back.
So Adam McKay. Also good merch. Good to be Spielberg.
What were we talking about?
So his henchmen.
Henchmen. So we're shooting out of order. So the first thing we're shooting is when we're at dinner, when they do their worldwide prestige. Yeah. When they do their presentation. Yeah. And so
cool that's the best, my favorite movie, man.
So I'm sitting there and I know my mission is whatever Adam does,
hype him up.
I'm backing his play. Like, this is my Lord and Savior. If you look at him funny, I'll fucking kill you. Right? So everything that Will and John C. did infuriated me, right? Because they were interrupting him, or they, so I was his attack dog. And that's before I even walked onto set, that's what I had kind of, based on what I read and how I respond, like, that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I did. I was just like, sit down, shut the fuck up. Just furious, completely unjustified. He didn't do anything to rate that kind of response. And I'm always asking him, like, you want me to take him out? You want me to kick his ass, basically, and leave? Then Adam has to be like, no, it's cool. I want to see what this happens. I want to see where this goes, But I was that willing to attack and kill for him. And so then, then that evolved. That was our first day of shooting. Well, then anytime after that, it's, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to, I'm just furious and never justified, even when we got to the Catalina wine mixer.
To this day, I still, because I saw it right when I moved to California, by the way. Yeah. Still, I go to Catalina. Sometimes I have friends that live there or near there. Yeah. I will never, if I don't say wine mixer, it's because everyone always says that. But
now Catalina has a wine mixer now after the movie. They never had one before. Now they have one.
Coincidentally, you think, or no?
No, it's totally related.
Yeah.
It's totally because of the popularity of the movie. They were like, we're Catalina, we should have a wine mixer. So now they have a weekend every year.
So the device of like, here's the alpha and here's the guy supporting the alpha is a archetype of one of, I don't know, there's 20. I mean, like, it's been done. It's not a new thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have an answer to this, but you are so in the pocket on that thing to where, yes, it's funny. It's going to be funny to be like, yes, what the fuck? It's just funny. Like, you're doing something for somebody that doesn't need it. And it's also the game of them being like, it's more about you and less about the person. And the situation makes sense. You're able to tap into it in a way that is like, if there were a class on what this thing is, that's what you show. It's an energy thing, is there anything you could explain? Like
Well, we go
why
back-
it works so well with you?
I don't know. I've been surrounded by alphas a lot, so I know a lot of them. Coaches,
Right.
drill instructors, generals, Marines, all these, alpha types. So I know their strengths and I know the bad ones.
Bad ones meaning not good at it, or bad ones meaning bad people? What is bad ones?
Both. It means the ones that are jerks, real jerks, the ones that are pretenders, the ones that are misguided.
What are you playing, do you think?
Always misguided, arrogant ignorance, arrogant.
Yeah, but like, give me an example. It doesn't have to be a real person of a coach or a drill instructor that is doing that non-ironically. Like, are they doing it bad and you're making fun of that they're doing it bad, or are they just too over the top?
They have no self-awareness, and they are over the top. They believe what they're saying and they believe what they're doing. But they have no idea what it looks like to the outside world.
I think that's the answer. I think that there is, which is obvious now that we're saying, I think it is that, like, as big as it is that you are when you do it, like you said already, like, I believe this guy could exist. It's not a cartoon.
No.
As big as the POW is,
Yeah.
it's not a cartoon.
And
it's believable.
and that POW scene was a reshoot. We there's, if you go to the bloopers, the original scene,
which I've watched, but I don't remember.
Will Ferrell's
that.
character was too passive. That was a very funny scene because we improvised that whole thing. I had a heart attack in the middle. I died. I came back to life. All this weird shit. Hilarious. But Will's character was too passive. They wanted him to be more aggressive. They wanted him snapping necks and cashing checks, and he wanted the mixer and all that stuff.
And now you say they. Is that McKay's direction?
Yeah, McKay. And
so he's like, this scene needs Will to
be
play
more
into
assertive.
alpha.
Right. He needs to be more assertive. He wants it,
Right.
as opposed to it being thrust upon him.
And it's also that it's finally him standing up for himself. Or
A little
something.
bit, yeah. So in that thing when we're shooting it, going back to improv, Adam Scott, at one point, he's talking about, you fucked this up and Randy here is going to eat your dick, right? Now, decision time. If I say
decision time,
if I say in the moment, right? In the moment, if I say no, I'm not, or what, I go, oh, I've killed the momentum, I've killed the mojo, that's a no.
Mm-hmm.
In improv, it's yes and, right? You know that. So yes and. So he says, Randy is going to eat your dick. My yes is like Kobayashi, right? And then and is adding more info. So I'm not, you better believe it. I'm not only going to eat your dick, I'm going to eat it like Kobayashi. And then I give a demo on how I'm going to do that, much to the displeasure of. And then whatever he said, you better believe I'm putting a punctuation on it because I need Brendan, Will's character, to know how serious this is. So when he said, you fuck up my nut, pow, pow, I just kept yelling pow as an exclamation point to whatever Adam said.
Now, when you're
And
doing
it made Will die laughing.
I was going to ask,
So,
are you make a specific choice like that, they're laughing makes you want to do it more.
Yes.
And now what happens in something, it can't be that, but let's say it was that, where they're not laughing. Not that they're saying don't do it, but you feel this is funny and the other people aren't giving you the energy back. Maybe they're not paying attention. Maybe they didn't think it was funny enough. It doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Do you then still have the confidence in this is funny, I'm going to keep going? Or do you have that, like what you said, awareness of like, maybe I won't keep doing this?
Since it's not my movie and it's an ensemble, or I'm
a guest.
I would, in that case, I would say, should I do that again or not? Was that working or not? I would put that out there.
Who are you asking?
I'm asking Will and I'm asking Adam.
Do you feel that when you ask Will or Adam or somebody in that position?
Adam McKay.
Yes. When you ask somebody in that position, you're putting them in a position to, let me give a quick little side story. I'm doing a television show. It's a drama. And I have an idea for something. And the show creator, Jason Keaton, says, okay, sure. I could tell that he didn't have a strong take one way or another. He was giving me permission.
Yeah.
I did it and it didn't work. Mm-hmm. And he didn't say anything after. We were resetting something. And I said, I'm not going to do that again. And he goes, yeah, good. You don't need to. He was being nice, but if I wanted to try it again, he would have let me.
Yeah.
Which is a nice place to be. But also there's an efficiency at a certain point where there needs to be a shorthand where they will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is if pow, it doesn't take up that much time.
Yeah.
If you want, they might be like, yeah, try it again if you want. Or they might say that doesn't work, don't. What I'm getting at is when I ask people something, I'm aware that not everybody is as direct or wanting to receive directness as much as I am. So when they say, keep going or don't, I don't know if they're giving me the real answer. And I have to just follow through with, do I think this is funny enough? Which makes it hard for me to know. As a stand-up comedian, I've talked about this. I have a very hard time knowing how the audience receives me, even if they're laughing.
Yeah.
If I felt like I was funny, I think I was funny.
Yeah.
If I don't, I don't, despite whatever they may think.
Yeah.
So I don't know when something works other than it works. And I could be wrong, but I'm never wrong. I mean, I am, but no, I'm not.
Yeah.
So when I think something's funny, if I ask people, that offers me no information.
Yeah.
Unless they say no.
Right.
But if they say, yeah, which people don't say no.
Yeah. Well, also, you got to remember that maybe they don't know either yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe they're undecided. Maybe they're like, let me see it again. And you do it again. And they're like, yeah, I like it. And maybe they didn't love it. Maybe they didn't, but who cares? If all I have to worry about, or what I think about is, if they don't want it, they're going to stop me. And if they don't stop me, I'm going to do what makes me laugh.
Right.
And if it amuses me or I think there's value in it, I'll do it. But if they come in and say, yeah, don't do that anymore, I'll be like, okay.
Well, that's direct.
Yeah.
But right now you're saying if I like it, if I want to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But the other version was you said, I'll ask.
Yeah.
When do you do it and when do you ask? I'm asking for me.
I do it if I hear the response, I saw Will laughing, I heard the people in Video Village laughing. I knew there was an appreciation for it, so I was good. However, had I done it and there was silence and Will staring at me with a blank look on his face.
Not that obvious. If it's just like, no, we're all having a good time, nobody noticed what you did.
Then I would do it again. I would do it again until they told me to not do it. Especially if I thought it was good. If I was like, I don't know how I feel about it, then I may not do it again,
The follow-up.
But it's that classic thing as a comedian. Read the room. Are they vibing or are they not vibing?
Read the room is first priority and what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Second is what I'm about to say, but sometimes I feel like you have to go the second. Sometimes the room doesn't have enough information. The pow that you gave is I'm saying hypothetically, is a funny energy, but it didn't work. Maybe you did it too soon in the scene. Maybe you did it too many times. Maybe you have to do it more to create the game. Whatever it is, sometimes you feel like it didn't work, but here's what it is. I have to imagine your success comes from, but I'll say such strong appreciation of what you do comes from, you are a pocket guy. Like you watch you and you're just in the pocket. Like you're great, dude. But like, it's an energy thing, you're locked into this energy. And if something doesn't work, let's try and make it work, but not in a way where we're cannibalizing your energy. Keep your energy. We need to do this or this. Yeah. But like, if you do something, and I'm speaking for me because this is always something I'm trying to get better and better at. Because like when I feel that energy, I feel like I have a Mario star. And maybe this isn't the right thing, but let's put me in a new level then. Yeah. How do you keep that star going? So like if you do the pow and you feel it's working and it's not for them, do you ever, I know it's not your movie, but like, do you ever say like, guys, I'm telling you?
No.
Never.
No.
Do you ever...
It's just not my place.
Right.
It's not my place. It's Will's movie. It's not my movie.
Right.
I'm there to serve the best way I can to support the scene and the character. And if I can set him up in any way, great. And he's gracious, Will specifically. Now, there's other cases and scenarios, but Will Ferrell's, in this specific incidents, he's so gracious that he was willing to be the straight guy. He was willing to take on the role of advocate for the audience by going, what's he doing? Why is he doing that? Is he saying pow?
Yeah.
And to me, that's the funniest part of the scene. Not me yelling pow, him trying to deal with that. To me, straight guys, Jason Bateman there's nobody better at being the straight man.
I mean, that's all. Yeah, I mean, he is the definition.
And to me, that's why he's the funniest comedian out there. That's why he's one of the funniest guys in a scene. The straight man they're the ones who get the laugh if they do it right, because there's wonderful advocate for the audience where they have to just be like, why are you doing that? Why is he saying pow? Why does he keep saying pow? Yelling pow, great. This guy's unhinged.
Yeah, but
we get
putting it in a reality that the audience gets.
Yes. So anyway,
do you watch listen to Smartless?
I listen to Smartless. Yeah.
The documentary with Hayes and Arnett and Bateman. There's those conversations with each other to see Jason Bateman both be the straight guy and antagonizing.
Yeah.
It's gold. They're so good.
It's gold, and I enjoy him for so many reasons. But in the scenario you're talking about, not my movie. I'm there to serve. That's how I see it. And I'm there to try to make this comedy as funny as I can make it. And if that means I'm the straight guy, great. I'll play that all day. But if it means I'm the obnoxious one, I'll be the obnoxious one. If it means, and then it's a commitment to character. There's no right or wrong. There's commitment or non-commitment. You either commit or you don't commit.
This is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so I commit.
And then if something's not working,
then it's up to the director to dial it.
But you'll stay.
I'll stay where I'm at and let the director say, give me a little bit more, give me a little bit less.
Do you have a trick on when you're in something, but for whatever reason you're just not tapped in yet? Or are you always tapped in? Like, are there sometimes you feel like, I don't have it today?
Oh yeah, there's days where there's days when there's a lot of distraction or there's a lot of other things going on, but that's when you have to compartmentalize and you have to be present, right? You have to say, I'm in a huge fight with my wife, or I'm in a huge, I've got
somebody took a dump at the airport.
Someone took a dump at the airport. Whatever it is, you have to just while you're on set during the hour that you're working. You cannot be anywhere else.
Could you give...
and you have to be that character. So what is that like? What I doing Curb or doing any of these TV shows or whatever. I'm that guy. I think I try to... We used to do an improv. Matt Besser used to run he was a director at the UCB Theater and do all these sketch shows and improv shows. And he would make us... We did a version of the Real World from MTV or whatever back in like the late 90s. But we'd have to show up in character... from the Real World house, and we'd have to stay in character the entire rehearsal, even on breaks. We'd have to. He'd ask us questions, not on stage performing, but just ask us questions about anything he could think of, and we'd have to respond in that character's mindset, what they would say, what they think, what they feel, and you got to know your character so well because you thought, reasoned everything as that character. And it was a great exercise because then whenever I read a character on page and I say, okay, this guy's a police chief. He's in a small town. He's very amiable. He's not looking for trouble. He doesn't wear a gun. He's kind of like an Andy Griffith type guy, but he's not as wise.
Shout out to Ron Howard.
Yeah, shout out to Ron Howard. So, then I start saying, okay, well, if that's who this guy is on the page, then how can I make that real? How can I... because that's what you're doing as an actor. You're trying to take your character and make it as real as possible.
When you're doing,
unless you're doing, heightened comedy, and that's the beautiful thing about comedy is you heighten from the reality, and that's where the joy is a lot of the time.
When you're doing character development for a show or a character for a movie, anything, are you spending a lot of time on that character development, or do you feel like you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 character traits that your instincts kick in? And you tap into that.
I have certain instincts. Everybody has them. We all have instincts to what the character is. When you see it on the page, you're like, I kind of know who this guy is. He's over the top, or he's a nerd, or he's a whatever.
One of the two.
You can read it and be able to determine, okay, he lacks self-confidence. He's too confident. But then, what I try to do is I try to say, okay, well, what do I bring to it? Where are some of the gray that I can put between this black and white, to try to make it very specific, or and then I try to remember, do I know people like this? What do I remember about them? And you do your work, you do the work you're supposed to do as an actor or a comedian or a comedic actor, and you try to come up with a couple specifics and a couple things, even if it's a twitch or a mannerism. Or a style, any little thing that you can find that may help, may not. And you may think, oh, I really like this. I'm going to do a tick or I'm going to do this. and you bring it and you try it, and you know what? For whatever reason, it's not believable. It doesn't seem real. Doesn't
believable
connect. Doesn't
to
connect.
you?
Yeah, to me. And then I drop it. You got to be able to drop things right away. And if you're going to be an actor, the director's going to come in and give you notes, and you've got to surrender whatever you had in your mind. I'm going to play the scene this way.
It's like being gifted something in improv, just like taking anything.
And you drop what your preconceived notions were, and then you have to be ready to take on what their vision is and try to make it your own as well. And that's why it's a very collaborative business, right? That's why it is. It's
the best.
And when you do it right, or when you do it with great people, or you hear great wisdom, or you hear, or you're working with people that are really masters at their craft, it's such an honor that I always find myself going, oh my God, this is amazing. This is amazing. I was in a scene in The War with Grandpa. Uma Thurman is playing my wife, and Robert De Niro is my father-in-law. And we're sitting at this table, right?
I don't know this movie.
The War with Grandpa. It came out probably right as COVID was happening, so.
I'll check it out.
It's a family comedy or whatever. But, I'm sitting there watching two actors that I just think the world of, right? Amazing in my mind. I've seen them do the most amazing stuff. And then you have to remind yourself, oh, I'm in the scene too. I have words. I need to speak. I need to function. I need to bring, but you don't want to, you just do your best, and you try to be as honest as you can. That's really what it comes down to, because if you're being as honest as you can in your performance or in your interpretation of this character, you don't have to oversell. You don't have to undersell. You don't have to get down in the weeds. You just be pure about it. And it comes across very real. Cause I watch them, and sometimes it feels underwhelming, and you're like, okay, well, I guess and they say, okay, moving on. You're like, really? Okay. And then you watch it and you're like, my God, it's so powerful. And they didn't have to do anything.
What is it that you're noticing after the fact that you didn't notice on the day? Were you like, oh, that's it? And then, wow, it worked.
Oh, just
their believability.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's earned, they've done that over decades of service in the theatrical arts, I guess, so you just trust them. But, that's the only thing I can think of when it comes to that stuff.
I found that what you said, like a tick or something, I found that a great device of, like, if you're not in the character, I don't need something to help to necessarily get into it character-wise. I need to find that energy, and those types of physical choices. I find chewing gum makes me feel confident. There's something, if I'm not tapped in, like, give me a piece of gum.
Yeah.
And it's just,
that's a physiology thing too. When I was doing stand-up, I used to pace back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. And in the green room or backstage or wherever, a hallway, wherever I could find to be alone. But I would walk confidently. I would strut, I would stride, and I would pivot, and I would come back the other way, and I'd do a real, loosey-goosey walk, right, where my body was just really, and just getting my physiology right, just getting the physiology loose and connected, and then when I got on stage, I felt, I don't know, more invigorated, because moving your body and your mind, they do work together, and so getting that thing. And then I also had a teacher in New York, acting teacher, and she told me, listen, when you start a scene, you don't always have to start with the dialogue. You come in and put your briefcase down, drop some mail on the table and grab a water, take a drink, think for a minute.
Create a believable environment.
Just use your environment for a beat or two.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a simple thing as putting a briefcase down and then starting your thing. Just that will get you, it'll buy you some goodwill. So I actually started to employ that in some of the auditions that I was doing in New York for commercials or whatever. And just simple little things that.
Great advice.
It worked.
Of course.
It really worked. And if nothing else, even if I didn't get the gig, fine.
He taps you in.
I felt better about my auditions. I felt like I was more present.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever consciously, sometimes you do that and you're like, oh, that feels fun. And then you do that again. But like, I do know the gum thing or a posture thing or whatever, like something physical to helps you just start making choices. But the idea of like treating like an improv scene in a real scene or something, that's a great, I mean, maybe they cut that part out, maybe you don't do it, but it's a good way to get locked in.
Yeah.
Dude, you got to go. I love you. I love that you're here. Thank you.
Thanks for having me,
I
dude.
want to pitch you on something that if it's a yes, you don't say it now. If it's no, don't say it now because I don't want to put you on the spot for it. But do you know who Lisa Gilroy is?
Of course. I do improv with her.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we do Dinosaur down at Largo.
Yeah, so she's been on it now twice.
She's the best.
I think she's one of the funniest people in the world. And we've been talking about, I used to do improv. And then I decided to go the stand-up route. I've always missed improv.
Stand-up pays. Improv doesn't pay.
It's also stand-up. I could get up whenever I want. Improv, there's so many logistics until you get to the level that you're at. And even then, you can't do it every night as easily.
Yeah.
But I'm getting back in. I want to get back in. And whether we do a one-off thing or whatever, but I'm going to contact you, especially if I do it with Lisa.
Yeah.
I got to perform with you.
Yeah,
so whatever that means, if I do a show at the Improv or at a place, you'll answer whenever you answer. But
I'm in.
All right, great.
I'm in.
But I feel like sometimes eyes are getting watery. Sometimes on this podcast, I take advantage of like, this is my college. I've had people on that I look up to and that know so much, and like, who knows if I do think people like this because these people like this inside stuff now. But like, I get an advantage to learn something, and what you just said about putting the thing down, whatever. Like, I'll never forget that. Yeah. That's such a like. I feel like, I took a piece of you from that. Like,
good. That's what we should do for each other. That's what we should do. Is if you choose a life in the arts, you should be giving back as much as you're getting.
I don't know if there's somebody that I could think of, but you don't have to compare it. But like, you truly are a master at just character and energy. And just whenever you're on, it's just like, how is he always locked in? So I know I've been complimenting you, but I really think you're just unbelievable, dude.
You're very gracious to say those things, and I appreciate it coming from you.
All right, well, we're done. I got to get a Polaroid of you, and then I'll get you out. But theme music. Dude, this was fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
I've wanted you on for a while.
Scoop D. Oh, yeah.